Hello and welcome to short highlights of stage 2 of the Santos Tour Down Under with me, Jez Cox. The sunshine out again, the cooler temperatures that had lowered since the finish of the Women's Santos Tour Down Under, greeting the riders for this, the longest stage between Brighton and Victor Harbour. Long coastal route taking in famous winemaking regions and going right the way across and then traversing the Fleurieu Peninsula to the south of Adelaide. Beautiful coastal views and a run-in which saw the first category final climb of Nettle Hill to spill the riders back into the finish at Victor Harbour. Alberto Bettiol was our race leader. There he was rolling out at about 11:30 this morning in that ochre leader's jersey. And the first long stretch of this race all the way along the coast. It was Marc Bristunga, the Spaniard, who took the first sprint point and the first bonus seconds, and then it served up a breakaway straight afterwards. Manuele Boaro of Astana and Johan Jacobs of Movistar, who went clear. And then the wind really started to blow over the top of the peninsula as the riders split up. It caused a big split, most of the favourites in a leading group of some 30 or so riders, and a chasing pack behind that at the time looked like it would never come back. It did, however, though. Boaro was the last of those to be out there by himself, and things came back together. And again, as we'd seen yesterday, it was Team Jaco Alula, the Australian team, who were looking to keep things together for Michael Matthews. They got him into a good position, but he couldn't beat Corbin Strong at the next sprint point, and even Alberto Bettiol had a go at it as well, taking third place there, just behind Michael Matthews. Everything to this point going well for Matthews and his Jaco Alula team. There was the point at which things came back together, the bunch reforming after the split that had been made by the wind. And as soon as they did, going over Parawa Hill, Dmitry Grudstev, the Astana Kazakh rider, going clear by himself. Alessandro Covi once again chipping away at points in the King of the Mountains competition, distancing himself as they made their way down to the finish that we could see in front of us right now in Victor Harbour. Then this happened on the final climb. Michael Matthews had been looking so good for 3 days now. His chain coming off, getting stuck down the inside. He claimed in interviews afterwards that he'd been balked by one or two of the other riders. Now out front, attacking, was Jay Vine, the Australian making his debut in the colours of UAE Team Emirates this week, looking really strong. Joined initially by Simon Yates riding across to him quite steadily, and then we had the formation of a very elite leading group. Next to hook up with them as they went over the top of that final climb, Rowan Dennis, the Australian who hails from just down the road in Adelaide, of course, Maro Schmidt, the Swissman, and they were joined by Jai Hindley, of course, the Australian winner of last year's Giro d'Italia. And then this happened to the ochre jersey. Alberto Bettiol getting furious because both of his quads appeared to cramp up. He got angry with people who were watching him, threw his bottle as well, and all the while the ochre leader's jersey was going away. He had lost the race lead by this point, and he knew it. This group of 5 were riding away with the race, but the chase behind from the peloton that contained Caleb Ewan was right on. This was them as they came into the finish. Little bit of daylight opened up by Jai Hindley as he went into the penultimate corner. It was closed down by Rowan Dennis, who then jumped clear by himself. And once Dennis saw he had the gap, he got into that familiar time trial mode, and that was it. The gap was tiny, but it was enough for the man from Adelaide to hold off the chasing pack and take the win in stage 2 of the Santos Tour Down Under. The question on all our lips was, would it be enough for him to take the race lead overall? It was a brilliant stage win for the Australian, ahead of 2 more Australians that were in that leading group in Vine and Hindley, Maro Schmidt and Simon Yates coming in too in a very select leading group. At this point, as we were watching the finish, we realised that Rowan Dennis had done enough to take the race lead. There was the confirmed top 10 result. And as you'll see in just a moment, Rowan Dennis had done just enough to take the race lead overall and take that ochre leader's jersey. A wonderfully finessed finale in which the Jumbo-Visma man played his chances, watched and waited as Jai Hindley went clear, and then seemed to close the gap just at the right time, rushing into the slipstream of Jai Hindley and then flicking past him, checking over the shoulder, seeing he'd got the gap and just getting on with it. A wonderful display of finessed finishing from a man who has so much experience and firepower, it should be said, at his disposal. Popular winner in front of the home crowd here, Rowan Dennis, and not a time trial win this time, but a road stage win. That's what it did to the general classification. Jay Vine now sits behind Rowan Dennis by just 3 seconds. Magnus Sheffield still there in third. Things are set perfectly for tomorrow's very lumpy stage, which takes in the corkscrew climb just before the finish. You will want to be watching that. Do join myself, Jez Cox, and Adam Blythe tomorrow. And don't forget, you can catch live or on-demand coverage of each stage on GCN Plus and Eurosport.